at my senior expo with the Dauphin County coroner, Graham Hedrick. And Graham, we see you on television all the time, so we know a little bit about what you do, but just tell us, what does your job entail?
Well, basically, I determine the cause and the manner of death. The cause is the mechanical reason why somebody no longer lives. In other words, it could be because of a bullet going through the heart, and then the person bleeds out and the heart's damaged, they can't live. The manner is much more difficult and subjective to get, because that could be either homicide, suicide, or accidental. Obviously, it couldn't be natural. So it is a combination of doing medical science as well as forensic science and scene investigation.
And how did you get interested in doing this? Like, we know you were a funeral director, but now you're, like I said, we see you a lot on television talking about cases, and we're always glad to hear you and hear your background, but how did you get interested in this job?
Well, most people don't realize that, number one, I was born above a funeral home. So I've been around death all my life. And I wasn't initially a funeral director. Initially, I ended up being a criminal investigator over in Germany, in the southern half of Germany. I was provost marshal investigator for the southern half of Germany. So every time we were at a crime scene, especially a homicide, they'd say, well, let Hedrick do it. His dad's a funeral director. He knows all that stuff about the body. So that's how I actually got into it.
Through the service? Were you in the service?
Yes, I was in the United States Army, initially 385th Military Police and 52nd CID.
And I guess you're called out anytime, your phone might ring and there you go. How often does it happen in the middle of the night?
Throughout the week, pretty often. So it is a 24/7 job, but I've always had 24/7 jobs. A criminal investigator, funeral director, coroner, none of them have office hours.
It's just whenever. Well, tell me, what else do you do? I mean, it's you're here today and I'm seeing people walk in, they're talking to you, but in general, just tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, my day can start somewhere around 2 in the evening, or on autopsy days, it starts at about 5 in the morning. I also teach at Harrisburg University, so right now we're in semester. So every week I give about 4.5 hours of lecture down at the university. And other than that, I try to get back to my farm and just be in the woods and in the fields. And my one remaining hobby is to try to work out 3 times a week, and I do karate on Mondays. So that's about it.
So you're busy. Tell me about Harrisburg University, because I don't hear that much about it, so I didn't even know you taught there. What class is it?
I've almost taught there from the very beginning of the university, because I believe that it is an important mission if it can be done. And they have financial difficulties, like many educational institutions, but the real mission is to bring scientific courses make them available to inner city kids as well as normal matriculating kids, and to supply remedial work for those kids to bring them back up to the level so that they can take science courses.
Now I have one question for you, because you mentioned your farm, and I knew your dad, and every once in a while there used to be vegetables on my front door. Do you grow those vegetables? I used to look forward to them.
A lot of people did. My dad's turnips were famous, but I just don't have the time. So I do grow some vegetables, and I'm going to be growing more, because frankly, the 2 things they've left out of the consumer price index are the price of gas and the price of food, so that politicians look good, right? They think, that we don't have much inflation. Well, we do. And so I'm sort of going to take after my father and grow my own food next summer.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you being here today, and I really thank you for being on TV and telling us what you do, because the people love to hear what you have to say and know what's going on. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and God bless.
I'm now with Don Steele, and he represents a company called Care Space. And Don, tell me, what does CareSpace, what does it mean?
Well, there were basically three of us at a startup company, and we all came from a place where we had a parent that we had time to take care of, and kind of all met one day and decided that we wanted to go a different direction with the contracting and real estate business that we've all been involved in for a number of years. So got involved in electronic monitoring, home additions, temporary additions, modifications to help keep the person at home as long as you possibly can. Combine that with some services that we know are available to aid in daily life.
So in other words, if I have a house and it's not exactly modified to an older parent or older relative or someone, I would call you and you would come and tell me what I have to do to my house?
Right, we would try to do as minimal of changes as we can, and if the situation seems viable to put an addition or even a temporary addition. And we were looking at not only senior citizens, but there are a lot of younger folks that get into situations where they're injured and can't get around their own home. So we'd like to be able to help those folks too.
And do you just modify the house, or do you sometimes do additions?
Additions, we do modular additions. We can do stick-built additions. What's kind of unique is we're trying to get to the point where we do a modular addition that could be removed and then replace it with decking, so that we basically don't alter your home, or we alter it only minimally.
Oh, I see. Well, that's interesting. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
We're at carespace-llc.com is our website, and my number is 571-5765 in the 717 area code.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. And if anybody needs their house modified a little bit, call Don and he'll help you do whatever you need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here with Bonnie, and Bonnie, you're a volunteer, but tell me who you're a volunteer for, your company, and what you do. I'm really amazed that you're a volunteer and you're sitting here and you're knowledgeable. So tell me what you do.
I'm a volunteer with the Senior Medicare Patrol. We're an organization that's overseen by CARI, the Center for the Advocacy, Rights, and Interests of the Elderly. The government gives each state a grant to educate seniors on Medicare fraud. I'm on my 10th year of doing this as a volunteer. I talk to seniors at senior centers. I've talked to the Rotarians. I've talked to the NARF, the retired employees, about what to do and what to look for in fraud. They're to check their explanation of benefits or Medicare summary notices to make sure they're not billed for services they didn't receive or billed double for a service. And it's a big business, so to speak. $60 billion a year is how much Medicare pays out to fraud. So that's why we don't get the benefits maybe that we're entitled. So we're trying to stop this. It's very interesting. Seniors are very interesting to work with, and it affects me too. So I have a vested interest in this.
Well, I know we're always trying to stop fraud, so I'm glad that there's somebody else, trying to help. But just give me some examples, because I think lots of times seniors don't even realize they're being frauded. So just tell us how a senior could experience fraud.
Well, when their explanation of benefits come, they look over it and they might see a service they never had done, but it was billed. Somebody billed them. We've had fraud from, there was an ambulance service in Harrisburg that got a hold of patients' Medicare numbers and was billing Medicare for transportation to dialysis centers, and these people never rode in the ambulance to go to dialysis. So they finally were caught, and there's been, I understand, a prison term coming from that. The scooter store was shut down. A lot of people remember the scooter store for electric scooters. They were located in Texas, and they were caught on several occasions of fraud. And they were shut down by the federal agents. I tell people to buy locally in the state of Pennsylvania because your Bureau of Consumer Protection and your Attorney General's office can help you if you find fraud or somebody took advantage of you. Now, not everything is fraud. Sometimes with the computer age, somebody keys in the wrong number in a number for a code for a procedure, and that can be rectified. But fraud is getting really bad, so everybody needs to look. There was an example of a doctor who gave up one of his patients and his wife a flu shot, but when their explanation of benefits came, it said they had a flu shot and a pneumonia shot. and they did not get a pneumonia shot. So the man called the doctor and followed through on that to make sure that he isn't getting paid for a service he did not provide.
So seniors, it's really important when you get a bill to check that bill. And if you see anything that looks a little bit like it might not be correct, please call the provider. And Bonnie, tell me, how do they get a hold of you or your company?
Well, they get a hold of our organization, which has a toll-free number, 1-800-356-3606. A live person answers the phone business days, and they have a contact. That's the Senior Medicare Patrol. They have a contact with the Medicare Fraud Division, and this is a free service, and they can help them get a bill straightened out if they can't do it on their own.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. It's wonderful. You're a volunteer. We appreciate you're trying to help people. And again, seniors, that number is 1-800-356-3606. So if you expect any sort of fraud, please call that number. And I'm here with Stephen Hedrick, and he's an investment advisor with Retirement Collaborative. So Stephen, tell me what you do.
Well, Sue, we're a fee-only investment advisory firm, and we specialize working with individuals as well as businesses to help meet their investment needs.
Now, who should come to you? I mean, you just sort of told me, but is it like we're at a senior expo, but it's not just seniors. Any age is going to come to you.
Exactly. We work with a wide range of people as well as businesses. If they have benefit packages they need to put together, that's something we could help them with their retirement accounts or also other benefit packages, as well as working with individuals like we do with you.
Like Stephen is my financial advisor. Believe me, I have all the trust in the world with him because he calls me, emails me, and I said, just take care of it. I don't have time. And I do go probably at least once a year, maybe, exactly. And everything is okay. So that's why I asked him to come here today and talk to other seniors and tell us everything. But just say if a young person doesn't come to you, how old is too old to probably start something with a financial person?
Well, it really depends on what your needs are, and that's something that it's better to do on an individual basis. That's why we provide free consultations, so we can come in and assess somebody's needs and see if we can be of service to them.
And then, they invest money. When can you start taking money out? Is there a certain time for that?
If it's in an IRA account, you would want to make sure it's after age 59 and a half, because there's a penalty if you take it out before that. If you're over the age of 70 and a half, you have to start taking money out of an IRA account. If it's in a taxable account, there's no tax ramifications for when you take the money, out of that. So again, you want to make sure you define what your needs are, and then you can set up an income distribution strategy that's suitable and that specializes and make sure that you're meeting your tax goals and not getting hit with a lot of taxes, and also not drawing down too much on it.
What if somebody sort of does their own, investing, and they come to be 70 years old and they don't realize that they're supposed to be taking some of that money out? Does the government tell them, or do they really need a financial person to advise them?
Well, let's say they're doing their own investments and their accounts are maybe at Fidelity or another custodian like that. They might receive something from that custodian that says they need to withdraw so much. But if they miss that, it's on them, and there's severe tax penalties if you don't take out at least the required minimum distribution.
All right, so they have to keep watching their mail to make sure that they do that.
Yeah, if you're over 70 and a half, you really want to look into that and make sure. And if you're doing the investments by yourself, you should call whoever the custodian is of that IRA and contact them and say, hey, what is my required minimum distribution, and am I making that? And hopefully if you're working with a professional, they're on top of that and they're saying you need to withdraw this amount and making sure the distribution is made.
Now, I know by the time we get to be seniors, we usually have grandchildren. Do people, or should they come to you if they have extra money and they want to set up accounts for their grandchildren? Does that work?
That can be done. There's ways of doing that with, you can gift money to the kids and have that set up. You could have money set aside and have that part of your estate plan. Also, the 529 college savings programs can be really good for setting aside money specifically for college education.
Is there a certain amount, if you just want to give a relative, a child or whatever, money, is there a certain amount that you can give them each year that without being, I don't know, taxed or something?
There is an amount. I think that amount is $15,500 for this year, but I'd want to check on that. But don't count me on that one. I would want to check that first, but I think it's around that number.
Okay, well, that's fine. We love when you don't know something and you say you'll check it instead of just telling us something that's not right. Yeah. Well, is there anything else? Like, what should, like I said, you protect me pretty well, but what should the senior know? When should they decide to come to you?
Well, I think if they're having questions, am I doing the right thing? What should I be doing? How much money can I take out? If they have questions, they should come to me. And like I said, we offer a free consultation with no obligation where we can sit down and we can go over what their needs are and what their questions are. And then if we're a good fit, that'd be great. I'd love to have them as a customer. And if not, there's no obligation and they can, continue to do things themselves or work with whomever they're currently working with.
And tell us where you are. We know you're in Susquehanna Township, but if somebody wants to get a hold of Stephen Hetrick, how do they do that?
Well, I had to travel really far to get here to the Giant Center, that we're at on Lingelstown Road. We're at the corner of Crooked Hill Road and Lingelstown Road right here in Susquehanna Township.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. And seniors, check him out. He do a good job for you.
Thank you very much, Sue.
We're now with Janice Creason, the Dauphin County Treasurer, and she's going to tell us about the property tax rent rebate program. Janice, tell us about it.
Well, this is a question that we get often in my office because we do collect the real estate taxes for Dauphin County. And the property tax rebate program is for seniors who are 65 or older, or for widows or widowers who are 50 or older, or for persons with disabilities. And this is primarily for those individuals who have a threshold, income threshold of $35,000 or less. They can apply through the Department of Revenue for a property tax rebate up to $650.
Chief Rob Martin has been in law enforcement for nearly 30 years, with the last 26 years in service in Susquehanna Township. His tenure as one of the area's premier police chiefs began with his educational roots. Chief Martin graduated from the Valley Forge Military College, where he was honored as the Outstanding Criminal Justice Student. He then obtained his bachelor's degree from Elizabethtown College. In 1985, Chief Martin graduated from the Pennsylvania State Police Academy as a municipal police officer. He then started his law enforcement career with a small township police department in Lebanon County. In 1988, he joined the Susquehanna Township Police Department as patrol officer. During his time with the township, Chief Martin has served as a detective, traffic safety officer, and platoon commander. He was promoted to sergeant in 1996 and to chief in 1998. He took on his newest role as public safety director earlier this year. He is an original member of the Dauphin County Crisis Response Team, SWAT, and is currently the team's commander. Chief Martin is also a veteran of the U.S. Navy Reserve, having served honorably for 10 years. Please help me in welcoming Chief Rob Martin.
Crimes and abuse against the elderly. 90% of the perpetrators who abuse the elderly, either financially or physically, are family members. That's a stunning number. 1 in 14 cases of physical abuse against the elderly are reported to authorities. Only 41 in 1,000 cases of financial abuse against the elderly are reported to the authorities. So I'm here to remind you, if you take anything away from the few minutes that I have with you, it's this: report it. Okay? Whether it's something that's happened to you personally, to a family member, or to a friend, I want you to call 911. I want you to report it because, as great as this life can be, one of my instructors in the State Police Academy, who is a dear friend to this day, he was the first homicide profiler in the history of Pennsylvania. His name's Tom Brennan, and he actually lives within walking distance of this plaza. He told us as young cadets in the police academy that evil lurks among all of us. So as great as friends that we have and family and great as lives that we live, evil lurks among all of us. So when you suspect something, or you believe something's occurring, or you know something's occurring, call 911 and report it to the police so that it can be properly reported. Let's talk about suspicious activity. See it, hear it, report it. That's our motto in Susquehanna Township. See it, hear it, report it. You know, nowhere in America can any police department put a cop on every corner. That's never going to happen. Financially, it would break this country. So really, who is the greatest eyes and ears that we have in this country? It's you, the citizen. No matter if it's in Susquehanna Township, the city of Harrisburg, New York City, or Los Angeles. It is the city or the citizens reporting crime, reporting suspicious activity to the police. Some of the greatest arrests that we'll make in a year originate from a report of a suspicious vehicle, a suspicious person walking around a neighborhood, or just a suspicious activity that somebody sees. So we need you to report that. You are part, I call public safety a triad, and that triad consists of this. The police department doing their job every day diligently, government officials ensuring that there's enough complemented police officers across this country to ensure proper protection, and then the third part of that triad of success is you, the citizen, reporting, suspicious behavior. Nobody knows what's more suspicious in your own neighborhood than you. Those police officers that work your neighborhoods, they certainly have a good sense because they're patrolling it all the time, but you know it better. You know what's right at any given time. You know what looks wrong, and all of us have to trust our intuition. That sixth sense. I believe in a sixth sense. It has helped me through 30 years of law enforcement. I know that many of you probably believe in that sixth sense. Trust it. If you've got a bad feeling about something, if it's making the hair on the back of your neck go up a little bit, call 911. Let us check it out. Many, many times, certainly in my career when I was a younger officer, and I still read the reports to this day, we will get a call and we'll be called to a residence to take a burglary report. And while that officer's at that house taking that burglary report, invariably, a neighbor will walk over, being a little nosy, which is not bad, and ask, hey, what's going on? The officer will explain what's going on, and they'll say, I saw somebody walking around yesterday, but I didn't want to bother you guys. Now let's talk about that bother issue, all right? The Susquehanna Township Police budget is $7 million a year. So those of you who are citizens are paying a lot of money for us to be bothered. We are in the bothering business, all right? Don't ever not call 911. If you see, don't be that person that says after the fact, I should have called. Don't do it. Because look, what's the alternative? You call us for a suspicious vehicle, we come and check it out, and everything's okay. Okay, no big deal. Now we know. Now that at least you can have a sense of comfort that whatever it was that was making you uncomfortable is legitimate. And most of the calls that we get are legitimate. But put yourself in my place. I would rather see in a given month 150 calls for suspicious people and suspicious vehicles and suspicious circumstances than 10 burglaries. Because I can't guarantee you that whatever property was taken from your car or your home will ever be returned.
Jason A. Switek took his first job in the funeral industry when he was attending Northeast Catholic High School for Boys in Philadelphia. After high school, Jason graduated from the American Academy McAllister of Funeral Service in New York City and went on to attend the Pennsylvania State Police Academy, where he pursued his education as a coroner. From 1999 until 2006, he served as deputy coroner for Bucks County. In 2009, Jason joined the Bittner Family Funeral Homes as a funeral director and licensed Pennsylvania pre-need insurance agent. He is proud to serve local families and unsurpassed services and compassionate care. Please help me in welcoming Jason Switek.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just as Chief Martin was up here speaking to everyone about protection, I just want to continue that a little more in regards to your funeral and end-of-life planning. The one thing I always ask when I go to a group is if something happened to you, God forbid, on the way home from here, Who would be at the funeral home tomorrow discussing those plans? And would they know what you want? A lot of people take the opportunity to go into a funeral home and discuss with them pre-arrangements. There's many benefits of pre-arranging a funeral. A lot of them have to do with finances, and the others with emotions. The emotional benefit is that you don't have that burden placed on your family. We get that information directly from you ahead of time, so we know exactly what you want to have done, from the type of casket, whether it's a burial or cremation, and it can all the way go down to the types of songs you want and the scriptures read at your funeral. Those of you that may already have a pre-arrangement, it's something that you want to review every few years. Just like your will and other important papers, these papers go hand in hand with a will. Those of you that don't have a pre-arrangement, I hope at least you have your will, your power of attorney, your medical directives written down, because they too are other things that your family has to make a decision on. And without your input, those decisions are very difficult for them. It won't relieve all the emotions, it won't relieve the stress, but it makes that level of stress much less. Your family won't have to come into a funeral home and sit there with our directors for a few hours, discussing what they want to do, arguing over the color of the casket or what type of flowers they're going to have. This way, everything's prepared ahead of time for them. Some of the other things you want to consider when you're talking to a funeral home, for those of you that are interested in cremation. Cremation is 40% in Pennsylvania. Each year that number is rising for lots of different reasons. The funeral home that you check into, ask them where their cremations are done. Are they done by funeral directors? Is their crematory located in a safe place? Because at 5 o'clock, you don't want to have human remains in an industrial park where their crematory is. You don't want to have them do a transfer from the hospital, from the place of death, back to the funeral home, and then only to take you to another location, driving you all around Harrisburg. There are funeral homes that do have their own crematory right on site. You're able to go in and look at the crematory at any time. If they won't let you come in and inspect the crematory, chances are you probably don't want to be there to begin with. So make these decisions ahead of time. These are all things that you can figure out with just a knock on a door at a funeral home. Any of them would be glad to sit down with you, go over your final wishes. Make these things happen and really create a great tribute when your day comes.